This is going to be a chat, an open chat, okay? I don't know if we will get some external microphone. Derek will inform us, and Ben will have to inform us, yes. But let's join our hands. Let's welcome the online community. Yeah, I need to be able to hear, but you people don't have Kalulu. What day? Yeah, someone had started, walala, walala. Like clearly there is zero Kalulu. Yeah, but we are excited, guys. I am excited to be alive in this generation. I am just excited. I don't know about you. Maybe some of you wish for what, but I do not wish for any other time other than this, because God in his wisdom knew that this is when I will make the most impact. This is when I will do the best things and the most things that he has created me to do. And I am so glad that we are on this journey together. I don't take it for granted. Each one of us. I feed off you, you feed off me, we strengthen each other, and then we go out there and impact. We go out there and do whatever it is that in our corners and in our abilities that God has created us to do. So whether you're putting out a video, whether you're standing somewhere to speak, whether you are effectively running your business, whether you are, whatever it is in your corner, by the way, even if it's just taking care of your children, taking care of your family, whatever your jurisdiction is, we all know that we are leaders, right? So whatever your jurisdiction is, I believe that you are the best person that God could have placed in that place. All right? And then whenever we come into fellowship, whenever we come into such places, that is when our cups get filled up. And let me tell you, sometimes not everything we say for the full hour is going to be yours. Do you realize that sometimes it will be a single word, it will be a single statement, and that is the only reason as to why you came here. And sometimes God foresees the things that we are going through, and he's like, this person is going to need this word two weeks from now, or 2 months from now. And then he will bring you here, you hear that word, and maybe in that moment it will not make that much sense. But guess what? God will allow it to tap into your memory. That in the right time when you're going through something, or you see something, you're like, now it makes sense. Because every level you get at, the enemies become stronger. The attacks become more intense. And sometimes the attacks are not even external attacks. The attacks can be internal attacks. Okay? So I need us to be able to brace ourselves and be able to get there, okay? And what we are going to talk about, I looked through the book of Job. I've been studying a lot about Job. When we talked about prayer last time, I think I talked about Job, right? Yeah, I talked about Job now. I got a totally different dimension when I was reading it again. And I was looking at, for those of you that have ever read that, the Bible is the most dependable quotation engine that I can ever have in my brain, okay? Because whoever makes these motivational quotes, they either have a revelation of God or the Bible, and they just fine-tune it to fit different aspects. But the Bible for me is the search engine that has everything that we will ever need, okay? So in Job 1:1, there's somewhere, and we are not going to read it that much because I had not even opened it, but are just written phrases, just phrases about it, okay? This is where the Bible talks about Job as a person and calls Job blameless, upright, fearing God, and he shunned evil. I don't know whether some of you have ever read that.
Job 1:1.
Mm-hmm.
In the land of Uz, there lived a man whose name was Job.
Mm-hmm.
This man was blameless and upright, and he feared God and shunned evil.
He was blameless. He was upright. He had the fear of God and he shunned evil. That means the decisions that he made every day were decisions that say, devil, keep in your corner. I don't want any drama. I don't want any trouble. I'm not seeking for any trouble, clearly. And some of us have tried to live lives like that. You're like, you are too cautious. How many of us can really say, you know what, I have been too cautious. Like, I know I have been brought up well. I know that I've tried to the best of my knowledge to make proper decisions. I know that I have the fear of God in me. I know that whenever you say that is evil, I run the opposite direction that my life counts on it. How many of us can say, I am that kind of person? There are people, bam, before them, they are running away from every trouble. Now, that was Job. He was running away from every trouble. Now, I want us to note that not all adversity is because of your immorality. Not all adversity, all the bad things, because some of us, when the bad things happen to us, we start asking why. We're like, but what did I do? Why did I do to God? Like, but of all people, but and sometimes, by the way, we have self-condemnation because some of us know that there are certain bad things that we do. And you're like, maybe in my heart I am harboring this kind of thing, and that is why. Do you know that we all want to make sense of things? We want to make sense of what is happening to us. Even we want to explain what is happening in other people's lives. That is, you remember the blind man in the Bible? When when the people asked, I was like, is it because his parents sinned? You get it? As in, they were trying to make sense. Is it like, did he sin? Like, why was he born blind? For example, when people are born with HIV, like, God, this person was innocent. Like, why? You get it? Why? But remember, there are rules. That when a person has HIV and they want to give birth to an HIV-free child, they have to declare their status, they have to take medicine, and during birth, the doctors have to be extremely careful so that there is no crisscrossing of blood, so that there can't be infection. So a person with HIV can give birth to an HIV-free child. But that means by the time you give birth to an HIV infected child, that means that there was carelessness somewhere. You either didn't declare your status, you didn't take medicine, and during birth you were not even careful enough to inform the midwives that, you know what, this is my status, but I want my child. Fine. Okay, that could have happened in the other generation where we didn't know better. There's a generation where people thought that an HIV person gives birth to an HIV person as well. So until it was clarified that, by the way, there is no mix-up of blood, even when the child is in the womb. So just like the Bible says that so many people perish because of lack knowledge. So now the blind person, the people are like, let's figure out this thing. I know some of us have figured out so many things. And like, but why did those people separate? I'm like, but it seems the woman had bad manners. But such men also are not easy. Like, we are always trying. We are mechanics in people's lives. We are trying to make sense. Now, that is part of the wisdom that gave to us to create. God gave us the wisdom to create. But we use the wisdom to investigate. And to make sense of what is happening in the world. There are certain things you must grow to a capacity. Saying that they broke up. Like, you end up at hearing the word breakup and you make an about turn because there are so many things that you must do. Your plate is full. Instead of concerning yourself with another person's agenda and what they didn't do and what they did. Unless you feel you can do something about it. And if you're indeed needed, or someone has included you. But someone has not included you, but you feel the need to invite yourself. You even announce your arrival. And you're like, ndiwano ntuse. So that means in human nature, we have that. We are judges, number one. And because we are judges, we want to make sense of everything that has happened. So these ones are asking, did the parents sin? Is this person immoral? But remember, the first statement I gave you is not all adversity is because of your immorality. Okay? And there is no sin, just like for those of you that also know the Bible knowledge, that there is no sin that is greater than the other. For us, we categorize as humans, right? Abortion is greater than an insult. Insult or beating is better. As in, we have those things, but they're like, these are my people. So you insult them, you have committed. So whatever it is, killing is the same as this. So that means there is nothing. Everything is on an equal footing. Now, because for us in our knowledge, they are big and small, so we are going to exaggerate others, and then we are going to put down others. And then some of us go to the extent of thinking that a sin committed in secrecy is not a sin, but the one that has been committed in public is actually sin. We saw you with our own eyes. But if they didn't see you masturbate, then you didn't commit sin. Hey, I am going to get weird faces. But But it's okay. It's okay. So you realize that we also love placing ourselves on pedestals, on white horses, like we have not done anything wrong, and we see everyone else as if they are tainted and they have been soiled and they have weird things. So we are judging other people, but we don't want anyone else to judge us. And yet, if God gives us the wisdom to hide properly what we are supposed to hide, then we are blameless. But we have a big log in our eyes, but we are seeing the small specks in other people's eyes. So just like you extend grace to yourself, extend grace to other people. Because chances are, not every adversity that gets to anyone is because of their immorality or because of their sin. So, after we have been told that he's blameless, he's upright, he fears God, and he shuns evil, this is what happens. That is when God has conversation with Satan. And he's like, where are you from? And he's like, I have been in Masaka, then I swapped and went to Jinja, and then I went to Moroto, and then even Sironko. I reached, and I was like, but have you seen my servant, Job? And he's like, yeah, I have seen him, but do you think he worships you in vain? You know? No. It's because you have protected him, and it's because you have done all these things. So he's now reasoning, all right? But when he says, when God said, when I read that, I was like, what? God recommended that the devil tries. Sorry? Yeah, but that comes in later. Because he's like, have you considered him? As in, have you considered him? Have you considered to test him? God recommending. And then he says that, but you have protected him. So that means the devil, God did not tell the devil that I have protected Job and his things. But maybe he had tried so many times and he had not succeeded. So he knew there was protection on his life. But one thing that came to my mind, and these are some of the things that I have gone through reflecting on my own life, is that yes, God wants to trust you with the good things and in the good times, okay? But he also wants to trust you with the trouble and know that you're not going to denounce him. So if you think he should only, as in trust you with a blessing, it's like, because we pray for blessings, who prays for trouble here? No one prays for trouble. But the same way he should trust you with a blessing, the same way he should be able to trust you with trouble and know that you are unbreakable. Because that is where your strength comes from. I've told you of my story when I was going through the roughest patch of my life, and that is where I pondered more about this and the sufferings that people go through. And sometimes we want to name them, we want to categorize them, we want to understand them, but there are certain levels of suffering that are unnameable, and there are certain levels of suffering that you cannot explain. So not every suffering or not everything that you go through must have an explanation. So when I was going through the roughest patch of my life, I told you at one point, I asked my mother, but why did this happen? Why did God let it happen when he knew where it would end? Why? As in, because he proclaims the end from the beginning. He's all-knowing. So that means before I set foot to even start this journey, he knew it was not going to work. Have some of us asked God those questions? I was like, you're all-knowing. Why didn't you? You should have done something. You should have done something. We want the prevention, eh? But remember last time I told you the second thing that prayer does is preservation. That if he can't protect you from it, he will preserve you in it. So that means that takes away your power to explain, because sometimes you cannot explain it. I know this is not a message or a chat that is going to land well on so many of us, but we are in the world, and just like at some point, actually, he said that I have been in the world. I know the tribulations, the trials, but I have overcome, so you are going to overcome. So he didn't say, I have left you the 9 secrets to understanding your suffering, the 9 secrets to understand your heartbreak, the 9 secrets to understand why your business is dunking, why your business is going down. He didn't put those things. But are they going to happen? Why your shop caught fire? where your home, the bank took your home. Yes, some of them we will want to explain too much, but certain things are unexplainable. Have you ever reached somewhere and you're like, you know what? Chino chansu seko. Yes, there are things that go beyond our minds and you cannot explain them. So the same way you want to be trusted with a blessing. He wants to trust you. Because I remember, I told you about when the tragedy had just hit during that time. I told someone, I don't think I've ever said it here, but I told someone, I think I should look for a good bar. I go and take alcohol. Like I've never taken alcohol. I've never thought of taking, but I was like, I think I should just go and take alcohol and just spoil myself and just do, because if the God could not do this and yet he knew about it and I have been serving him, then I should just go and get a good bar and just sit and spoil myself. Sorry? I told you when you come here, you come for reality. We are not about to mask anything. And I remember that was Sub Restaurant. For those of you that know Sub Restaurant, it was around opposite CPS. Okay? So opposite CPS, definitely, I don't know much about where to get a bar because I've not been in one, but I am thinking I should get one because now I am at a point where I have been crushed and all my, you know, when one piece of you is crushed, you feel like your whole life is crushed. Okay, so I felt like I have no reason to live. Okay, everything I have done that is good, I don't think, you know, sometimes we do good expecting that our good is going to stand for us. No, it's not your good that stands for you. You are you will go through the trials and tribulations, but that is to strengthen your muscle. You cannot be a people helper until you can be strong enough to actually help the people. So if you only go through, have you seen people that have been brought up in simple life? Hey, juice, the fridge is full. Hey, soda, the fridge is full. And then you go and tell that person to work, or you tell them to fast, or to go without food, or to save money, and they just don't know. That is why in this generation we have men who cannot be leaders because they've been brought up by single mothers who have given them handouts every time, bailing them out every time. But even then, they should learn to be able to to lead, okay? They should learn to be responsible for themselves, learn to fight, to stand. Not everything is like, ha, kanyungula majege Iraq. Majege Iraq is mother-in-law. Then they bring Iranian forces. They come and Iranian forces don't joke. You will hear them in the compound when they arrive. But guess what? That is why you see that there is a counter formation that whoever is bringing up ladies these days is telling them, stand up for yourself and do not be oppressed. So while the Iranian army is in the compound, the one that is in the house is saying, Tonda banga. No, that is the battle that we are having these days. The one in the house, the wife is saying, you have come to attack. I will leave you with your son. So while you enter to attack, they are moving out. So let's see who is winning. So that means marriage is not winning. And in God's principles, he wants marriage to flourish. So that means everyone should know their place. The wife should know her roles. The man should know his leadership roles. The mother-in-law should know her supportive roles. And she should know that she's not number one in this game. It is God who is number one. It is the wife that is number two. And the children number three. And they can come. But the thing is, if you have brought up your children in the fear of God, if you have equipped them so well, you realize that number 4 is not far. You will actually have the priority. Because the moment your wife has no problem, she will be the one reminding you. She will be the one inviting her. She will be the one loving on her. She will be the one requesting her to pray for you. She will be the one, actually, your wife will have a better relationship with your mother than you even have in your adult life. But do you know the sweetness that exists in that? The blessing that exists in that is because everyone is playing their roles right. Okay? So, not every suffering comes from immorality. So here, God is asking, have you seen him? And then, he's like, you know what? I know you can, I think God was bragging, like, I know you can't break. And I know that God has bragged about us so many times. I know God has bragged about me so many times. That even when I was in my worst, I would drag myself, not to go to my home church, but I would look for another church around. I remember by then I used to be around Banda. And that is the time, I think, around Yakilome's church that is Christ Embassy. It had just started in Banda. And so I would drag myself to church. And then I would sit in the back. I've just entered. They're worshiping. The worshiping is not making sense. Everything is not making sense. But guess what? I came. Right? And then I'm bored in the next 20 minutes and I get out. Do you think God respected me going there? He did. He was like that. Even when you think I have not fought for you, even when you think you are in your lowest moments, you fell in my arms and you did not fall in devil's arms. You failed to go to a bar that you had promised yourself to go to, but on Sunday you woke up and went to church. Even when you got out after 20 minutes, I know you are unbreakable. I know you are unshakable. And I do not want to take a weakling to the nations, because some of us are asking for the nations. God, open the doors for the nations. I want to be an international speaker. An international speaker, you go unarmed and untrained? Because you have not faced any adversity, you don't know how to fight. So when you get there, you want the soft life. Yeah. And the soft life is not there. And then you retreat. And then you give up. He wants to be able to trust you in the good times, and he wants to trust you in the bad times. He wants to trust and say that, you know, she's unbreakable. She is unbreakable. I am so proud of myself about the choices that I made when I was in the valley. And I hope that at some point we can all say the same. That when I was in the valley, some of you, when you go through a heartbreak, someone tells you that, to get over someone, you get under someone. You go. And all of a sudden, the devil is like, Mamaza. It doesn't mean that God will never redeem you. He can always fight for you, but there are certain decisions that you will never be proud about. Certain decisions that you will never be proud about. And some messages that you will send that are filthy. In this generation, people screenshot messages, put them up. And now some of us want to make bigger impact. We want to be known for something. We want to be wealthy. The moment you want to be that kind of person, be careful with the kind of mark that you leave behind you. Be very careful. Because after you attain whatever status that you're looking at, everyone is going to want to bring back whatever is below here. And it's like, you see her there. This is what used to happen in this period of her life. You see him there. This is what used to happen. So that is where your needs will come in. That is where because when you are going through an oppressing moment and a suffering moment, you become like a drunkard person that you can make decisions without knowing. You will say things without intending them. Like, do you see people that have told others, I will kill you? Not because they intend to kill, but the frustration and the pain is causing them to say things that they would never have said. Why? Because you are intoxicated. Emotions intoxicate us. That is why when you see someone and they've chopped wires, some of their friends will be like, you know what? Bring the keys. I cannot allow you to drive. When you announce someone's death, maybe of a beloved, of a loved one, and you're like, you know what? The first thing is take their keys because we don't want them to drive. But guess what? They will not even think about it themselves. They'll be like, you know what? I want to drive so quickly so that I can go there. But while they're driving, they're not in their proper senses. So that is where, so for some of us to manage even this suffering, even the moments when we are low, we need a support system. We need a support system that is sober, a support system that we can listen to, a support system that can think ahead of us and say, you know what? Be careful, tread carefully. I know this is painful. You would want to, I'm going to give him a piece of my mind. And you're like, first give me the piece of that mind so that I can hear it before you can give it there. You know? And by the time you say, no, we are not giving this piece of mind. We are remaining with ourselves. And before you know it, that person has blocked the number or deleted that number because she's a trusted friend. Like, this person is going to regret. Tomorrow morning, they will regret the messages they sent in the night. How many of us have ever sent messages and we regret them immediately? And we can't undo them. Or you say words and it has already gone wayward yo. That even when you had an upper hand, now the table has been turned, you're the one that is down. And now you want to say sorry for something you said without intending. Why? Because you are in a low moment. Because you are in the valley. Let's be very careful, especially as people builders. Especially as people that seek to make impact in the world. People that seek to build businesses. The reason as to why every big business person that you have ever seen, it does not mean that they didn't go through the down days. But I want to ask you, and I want you to be very, very, very honest with me. How much of the bad reports do you have about those people? Look at most successful people in the world, okay? And look for all the trash concerning their lives. Look for it. You will not find it. You will not. Leave alone the people that are in this generation that want to manipulate the things of this generation, Elon Musk being one of them. That, you know what, I want to do to make sure that I syndicate all these things so that attention comes to me. No, there are people that are wealthy and they are not attention seekers. But we know them for creating proper wealth. But does it mean they have never been in the valley? Does it mean they have never gone through tragedy? Does it mean that they have never gone through losses? Some of them will even lose children and the whole world will not know. Some of them, businesses will crash. They will be back down to zero. And some of them have proclaimed, I built my business back from scratch. That means they walked in moments of suffering that was unexplainable. Maybe one of their partners, what explains about Steve Jobs? You start with someone and your partner turns on you. You get it? That is the time you will say, do you remember the lady that went to the king to seek for wisdom because they had, I think they had eaten one child? Do you remember that lady? Had slept, and all of a sudden the child was dead, and they switched. She switched so quickly, and then she was so quick to go to the king. And that was like, you know, you would rather cut the child in half. And the king was like, you're not the mother. Because if it were the mother, they would be willing to give that child to the other woman for as long as the child was alive. But if you want the child to be cut, it's because you do not have a heart of the mother. That means it's not your child. There are people that have lost businesses and they're like, whatever is remaining of that business, I would rather leave it flourishing than see it dead, and I would rather exclude myself out of this business. So that person has a heart for that business. And they're like, it would rather run without me than me saying, but there are people who get intoxicated with emotions and like, it would rather die. If it's a loss, we should all lose. Have you heard people say that? That is intoxication. And that means it has gotten to their brain. It is unexplainable. They are looking for proper ways of explaining it, and there are no explanations. No explanations. So that is when God says, you can touch everything around Job, but do not touch his life. If you think he is worshiping me because of the protection, he's worshiping me because of the hedge that is around his children, his everything, touch everything he has, but do not touch his life. If you were stripped naked right now and everything you own, or anything that you thought, you own was taken away from you, would you still be like Job that says, praises to the name of God? Praise be to the name of God. Alone I came. I was born naked, and naked will I return to the Creator. Everything else I had with me was just a bonus to let me live a simpler life on earth. If that is taken away, I am not denouncing the name of God. And they're trying you, and they're like, but this sickness, I think it's better we go to a shrine. You have believed God for a long time, but I don't think God is coming through for you. And there are people who would say, you know what? I am not going to a shrine. If God does not heal me, it's better I die than go to a shrine. You remember the 3 boys that were cast in the fire? And they're like, we are going to cast you in the fire. And they're like, it's okay. We would rather die than renounce the name of God. So we are not going to do it. And sometimes our salvation comes in the places where we are nearly giving up. Our renewal, our revival, our answers comes at the end when we are about to throw in a towel, and indeed God has seen us that we are unbreakable. Instead of falling on the other side, we have decided to still come back to him. As in, what explains that you're going through the wildest loss in the world, but you're still calling God. You're still praying. Even when you're crying, you're still saying, God, make a way. And the devil is like, but what's wrong with this woman? What's wrong with this woman? I've given them cheaper avenues. You know, it will even be good to insult. Do you know sometimes it feels good to insult? You're like, but what kind of God is this? I think these all things are fake. That is renouncing. Yeah. I think this whole thing of Christianity is just a business. People have gotten to those extents. When you are intoxicated with trouble, you are not thinking right. But there is a level of maturity that you get at, that even when you go through the worst of the worst, okay, you will know that there is no any other alternative. That there is no any other alternative. God is my only and only. I don't have any other options. So if I die, I die. But I will stick to God. And I'm not going to denounce him. I'll still stick to the values that I said I am not going to be corrupted. So even if I don't have enough, I would rather stay with the small that I have than being corrupted. I would rather. Some of you have watched some of these movies where there are babandas, cartels, and what. The devil does not joke. As in, yesterday I was asking my husband, we were watching this movie, and this person was coming to deliver. There was a certain coin. Apparently it's an expensive coin, and so they are all fighting for this coin, okay? And so there is this, you know, Babandas, how they get other people to work for them, to run errands for them. So this person was sent to go and run that errand. And so they're supposed to deliver the coin. And now you know that your boss is this person who does not think. Because most of them do not really think. And then you're the one that is coming as the bearer of the bad news. And then you're saying, but you know, boss, we received a bit of delays, and you know, we received some attacks, so we lost some people, but you still want to bring in the encouragement, but we will get the coin. And in my heart of hearts, I was like, that one is dead. Like, seriously. In that moment, all he wants is to get a pistol and pew through your head, because some of you have never seen demons. I've grown in a world where I have seen demons and how they act. And some of the songs that the demon will sing is akanyomo nyomo wonyo merasula munju yobwendi kutandi kwatomulala. That means the devil has options. That if I kill you, I am going to get to another person because I have servants, so many servants. So you are an option to me, you are not a priority. Those are the people that are dealing with the devil. He sees you as a means to an end. So if you cannot serve me, I will kill you and I will transfer. How do you think Bitambo gets from one person to another? You can pass it on to another person. All right? And that's it's like, you know what, if you dare cross me. Some of you have not dealt with these things. I've dealt with deliverance for a very long time, that the demon can even sense that you are present, and it says, do not bring so and so, and it will even know your name. And you say, don't bring that woman near us. Don't bring that woman near us. You have not even entered the house, but the person that is possessed is within the house and it's locked, and they know that you are coming. Why? Because they are spiritual beings. I know some of these things are too deep to comprehend, but apparently these are things that are happening in the real world. They are happening. You're going to see them. Some of us have lived long to see them. Some of you are still living, but you are going to see them. But should you see them, you will know that yes, the world has so many things that are happening. Some of us, we think the small part of the world where we are blessed to run, you know, family, business, work, we are hyped up, we are Gen Zs, we are Smanyi millennials, like life is, let me tell you, there is more underneath this life that we are living. there are spiritual realms that are very functional, and some of us, we don't think that some of the limitations we are facing are because of the spiritual realms. We think everything, we procrastinate for the sake of procrastinating. We think we are weak and we are not executing. And then I ask you, don't you know what to do? And you tell me, but I know what to do. And I'm like, why aren't you doing what you're supposed to do? Like seriously, if you ask yourself, why aren't you doing this, what you are supposed to do? Before you know it, you can trace a pattern in your life of a vicious cycle of poverty from one generation to another, from one generation to another. And then you cannot be wise enough to say, whatever they didn't do, I am determined to do, so that this cycle ends with me and it does not cross into another generation. That is a person that is furious enough to say, I cannot exist in this world and just be a normal person, muka muka, just breathe, that I also existed and traversed this world and I did not make any change at all. That is a loss. That is a loss. The day you wake up and say, by the time I'm a living human being, by the time I have a brain, by the time, that means there are things that I'm supposed to do. If God created me as a creator, what must I create? Whatever I create must bring answers to the world, must be a solution, must giving me an edge over what has happened before. So the spiritual realms are real, very real. How else do you think God was having the conversation with Satan? And now he's saying, you know what? Touch everything, but don't touch his life. There are certain moments where everything around you is going to be touched, and your life is going to be left. But I don't want you to find yourself in that moment and you denounce everything that is important in your life. I want you to still hold on to everything that is important. The morals, the lessons you have learned, the God that you have come to understand, and that God should be your personal relationship with God, not a religion that we understand God as a religion. There is a certain level of maturity where you should have a conversation with God, whether you should understand God as your own person, okay? And it doesn't have to be interpreted to you. Yes, when you go to places like this, we get encouraged, we get fired up, but we go and create deeper relationships with God even in our lives. All right? So, whatever it is that you're going through, when you win, you do not win alone. Your family wins. We are a greater team, guys, that when you win, we all win. Guys, because I won, I am here. If I did not win, just imagine if I went to that bar and took alcohol, and because alcohol is an intoxication, and maybe someone told me in order to get over a heartbreak, you get under someone, and I foolishly listened to that because I'm intoxicated, and I usually tell you that by now I would have been on my 5th marriage. Yeah. Because when you get into a wrong thing, you sign out. You get into another wrong thing, you sign out. It becomes a pattern. And guess what? The devil is in the ring and saying, go, 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 go. Because he knows that it's a billion of people that have been distracted because this one life has been destroyed. It's like the moment she lives in anguish, in despair, in fog, in lack of clarity, then we are tying up a whole generation and we like it. The demons are also jubilating. Just like when one soul is snatched from hell, that the heaven is rejoicing, when one candle is snatched and sniffed, the devil makes a party. Would there be a mentorship right now? Would we be seated in this place? I will be in a court with another baby daddy. I will be in a custody battle with another one. I will be maybe still going under another person. I will be somewhere figuring it out, fighting like a mafia. But fighting a lost battle. Do you see how we make, sometimes when we look even at other people, we see that the patterns of bad decisions after bad decisions, reckless decisions after reckless decisions. Some of us, we can see our sisters, our brothers, and you're like, why doesn't he wake up? Why? Have you seen such kinds of people? And you're like, wake up when it's still early. But again, do you know that you don't have a right over anyone? That you can see your father making those decisions. You can see your mother you can see your sibling making those decisions. But God gave everyone the will to live and to decide. So I can tell you all I want and I will be writing on water. You will still go and make your own reckless decisions. So that means when you lose, a whole generation has lost. When you win, your children are winning. The children's children are winning up to the 4th generation. That means God has given us time. And now I am just understanding this. Do you know, I've never heard this of anywhere else, but do you know that the reason as to why the blessing goes to the 4th generation, it's always that God is stretching this blessing so that there will be another person that can be able to take up the mantle. Because then he says, if the blessing went to just the 2nd generation, and in that generation there was no one to take up the mantle, like it would be dead. Do you know that? That if he just extended it to the 2nd generation, if still no one came up to hold the mantle, still that generation will be dead. So he's hoping. That means that God is actually standing somewhere and saying, I hope someone raises. I hope someone loves it enough. I hope someone wakes up from their slumber. I hope someone, so if they don't wake up in the 1st generation, in the 2nd generation, in the 3rd generation, he still has hope that the 4th generation, someone will wake up and get the baton and run with it. Because he does not want, if it wasn't for his mercy, we would have been consumed. That means somewhere the generation would have been cut short. Yeah, it would have been cut short. Why do you think people cry over and over again? And like, in this generation, yes, we know all children are children. Why is it that in the former generation, they used to cry about boy children? It's because a boy child is supposed to extend the lineage and the heritage and the legacy of the family. The girl children are supposed to build the lineage of the other family. That is why they'll be like, God, please, I need a boy child. You see someone giving birth to 10 children and they're looking for a boy child. You get it? That used to be a pain back then. In this generation, we know that a child can inherit, a girl child, that a girl child can still run your inheritance even when they are married the other side. It is hard, but it is doable. They have figured out a way of doing it. But still, a boy child holds a much better chance, because then the blood in his veins is living on and on. So you see that, guys, you're not winning for yourself. You're not waking up for yourself. You're not here for yourself. You are here for your children. Just imagine that whatever you are doing is going to be passed on to your children. How much harder would you be working? How much harder? Like, I don't want my children to go through the same kind of life. Can I create a better life and be able to mentor them well, but create a better life and a better life and a better life? When you say that you leave inheritance for your children's children, if you said children, maybe you would say, my children turned out okay. They have everything that they needed. That means God does not want us to settle. He's like, you will leave inheritance for your children's children. So that means you must be satisfied. Your children must be satisfied in order for you to live for another generation. So do you see that God sees further than today? Can we see further than today? That the suffering of today should not make us do things that we are going to regret tomorrow, even when it's unexplainable. Even when someone has done something to you that you think, some of us have a sense of entitlement that we should be treated a certain way. Newsflash, no one is going to treat you the way you want to be treated. Yeah? Let me be the news reader. Let me break the bad news. No one is going to treat you the way you want to be treated. So let's not allow certain parts of our lives to be dark. That even when it starts getting dark, you light up a candle and you're like, Osaga, we will chase our purpose even when we are crying. We will start businesses even when we are heartbroken. We will build homes even when we don't understand what is happening. We will be somewhere working. We are not going to be somewhere waiting. We will be somewhere working. I don't know if you can promise yourself that as much as I promise myself, but when you win, what I want to encourage you with is your family wins. When you win, so many of us are winning. Your children are winning, your nation is winning, everything around you. There are certain people just going to be blessed by being close to you. Like, I mean, it feels a blessing. There is nothing much, it just feels a blessing to know you. And you're like, you know what? She has gone through a lot. She's holding that torch. She's still standing still. It feels like it's an encouragement. So you're going to be an encouragement to so many people. And I don't want you to drop that. All right? So how you manage these seasons. Last time we talked about prayer. Pray. Okay? In your own way. To your own God. Make a prayer. Because what that does is it sobers you up. Do you know that prayer is not just for what God is going to do? Prayer instills the faith that tomorrow is going to be better. So we live as if tomorrow is going to be better. Have you ever reported to your parent and you're like, Daddy, you know, this has happened. Do you know when children report, it is a satisfaction? Like, they're like, yesterday, Ariel reported to me what Ariella had done to her. Ariella kicked him. So when Ariella kicked him, because they both wanted to enter the same bathroom at the same time. And so Ariella rushed so quickly and, and sat on the toilet seat. And so Ariel felt so defeated. And so he was also trying to fight. So Ariella kicked him. So he came. He was like, Mommy, I didn't want to beat Ariella, but you can discipline her. You know, this is where even, you know, when someone shows you that she kicked me here. And I'm like, now how am I going to sort this out? Because clearly I don't want to beat Ariella just for that. So how can I convince him that I have fought for him without beating? Because they'd be waiting, by the way. Yeah. So I told him, you stay here. I am going to check on Ariella and surely I'm going to punish her. My intention was to get there and just ask her, Ariella, but you're the elder sister. Why are you kicking your brother? But this one is not allowing. He's coming like a soldier. He wants to see what kind of punishment is going to be given. And so, but Mommy, you said you're going to punish. You're going to punish her. And then I was like, but you know what? This is a small thing. When she does something else, we will punish her. But this is a small thing. But mommy, and I'm like, no, believe me. We will punish. We will get her. We will get her some other time. You get it? So even when it comes to prayer, sometimes I feel like we have taken issues to God and we're like, God is going to surely do something about it. I don't know if it's the same faith that you guys have, but I usually feel like I have reported my issues to the highest being that ever is, that no one can corrupt. He does not consult anyone to bless me. He does not look for validation, and he does not seek to please anyone. So I might take my issues to him, and then I will rest in his grace, knowing that he does not do things according to my own timing, but in the due season, if I do not cease and stop doing good, in the due season, he's going to reward me, or he's going to answer my prayer. All right? So what I just wanted us to get encouraged about is we are business people. We go through unexplainable seasons. But even when you go through unexplainable seasons, I need you to be able to hold firm, to stand firm, even as you look for ways how to navigate this, because God has given us the wisdom, as you consult other people, as you seek to increase your sales, as you seek to impact other people's lives, do not cease to do good, okay? Even in your darkest moments, still think about doing good. I told you about so many times when you would think that, you know what, kawe demu. Okay, I've gone through some miscarriages, and at the pit of my miscarriage, when you think, you know, when you've conceived and it has been a hard conception, and you're thinking, God, this time, you're bargaining with God. You're like, this time, please, this time. You know, when you're counting months, you're like 3 months. You're like, oh Sanga, you know, it will stick. And then 4th month, and you're like, maybe I'm out of danger. The 1st trimester has gone, and the 5th month, the devil shows you, I'm going to knock you hard. And you go to a hospital and they announce to you, we have to evacuate. Definitely I'm still bargaining. You know, I went to a hospital and the doctor was like, you know what, the best thing is take you to theater right now and just make sure that we clean you up. And then I'm like, no, maybe the doctor's so bad. Maybe this this scan, maybe let's go to another doctor. And by the way, I got so annoyed about that doctor. I was rambling the whole time. I was telling my mother, I was telling my husband, I was telling them that, you know what, I think let's go to another place. Let's go to another. Like, I was still holding hope against hope. And then it happens. And while you're still in your pit, you're thinking, there are people that are waiting for me to show up. There are people that don't know that I am down. And I'm not going to give up on them because I am down. Actually, those same people are going to help me to rekindle my energy. And then I come up on the live. No one knows that, by the way, this is what I'm battling. I don't even look like the trouble that I'm going through. But I'm in the hospital. I'm on live on Zoom, and I'm delivering a whole hour of talk, a whole transformational hour of talk. And then Mama, how do you do this? And I'm like, yes, I am down. But again, being down does not define me. So I don't want you to be defined by the low moments in your life. It's possible there are certain prayers that are not yet answered. There are certain things that you do not understand. They do not have a definition, but do not be defined by your valley. Okay? For those of you that were on the first day of the growth conference, there was an analogy that Amanda explained. I will end with that. That there was a straight road and there was a bumpy road. And she was talking about building from our mistakes. And so she was saying that this bumpy road is the one where you have made mistakes and mistakes, okay? And then there is this road where you have not made any mistakes. Do you know that when you put a ball on both roads, the one that has bumpy roads, the ball gets to the other side faster than the one that has a straight road? Why? Because this one has momentum. When you go into the valley pushes you up, okay? Because there is no one that prays as hard as the one in the valley. There is no one that believes as hard as the one in the valley. So the momentum to come up, when you hit another one, you come up so quickly. The one that has a slow road, a straight road, is one that has not made any mistakes, is one that is not in the valley, is not the one, doesn't feel the push. Maybe they were born into money. Maybe everything has been on a silver platter. They are like, kasta mama wange wali. Yeah, because you know, mwami. Kasta. So you are going slowly. So who gets to their destination quickly? The one that is on the bumpy road. I love you guys.